Welcome back to the marketplace. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is putting together his notes for the mid-year review of the 2018 budget estimates. Joy Business is learning that the presentation should happen before last week of July. But there are reports the Finance Minister could be introducing some new taxes to help deal with revenue shortfalls. What are the likely areas Ken Ofori-Atta could consider? George Wiafe has more.
Sources say all options are on the table in terms of finding a more sustainable solution to the revenue challenges. The Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is said to have tabled some proposed tax measures to Cabinet for consideration. However, Joy Business understands that some of the areas being looked at is proposing an increase in the VAT rate by 2.5% to 17.5%. and also increasing SNIT contributions by 2.5%. This should go a long way to support the National Health Insurance Scheme. These measures should bring in more than 2 billion Ghana cedis in revenue to the state. However, these are just proposals, and things could change after the cabinet meeting to consider them. So it could end up that these proposals may not be announced at all when the Finance Minister appears before Parliament for the mid-year review, because other measures are being considered, and also looking at the political cost of increasing taxes, coming after the fact that government recently abolished 14 nuisance taxes as part of measures to refocus economic policy from taxation to production.
Now, the Food and Beverage Association says it is yet to reach full agreement with government on implementation of the tax stamp policy. The Ghana Revenue Authority has indicated it would start enforcing the tax from next month by seizing all items that are not affixed with the tax stamps, as well as possible prosecution of operators that are not complying with the directive. But speaking to Joy Business at the Ghana Beverage Awards, General Secretary of the Food and Beverage Association, Samuel Agri, said they are still struggling to work with the tax stamp.
The Food and Beverage Association is kicking against the implementation of government's tax stamp policy and is rather proposing a digital stamp as an alternative. According to Mr. Agri, not only is the digital stamp affordable, but would also yield better results. He says the association has made several follow-ups to the effect and is seeking the buy-in of government.
The solution that we have proposed to government is the digital stamp, that you need not to invest so much, but then you get the optimum output when it comes to revenue. So government on the other side stands to gain if he deploys the digital stamps. With this one, it's only a software and a small machinery that will not even cost you more than 20,000 cedis, even more, less, maybe $10,000 will give you all these things, and government will also spend less in putting up all these structures to get the needed results that they want.
In a related development, Ghana Investment Promotion Center boss Yofi Grant hints the use of technology to mobilize taxes would be one of the issues considered in the upcoming mid-year review.
Tax is important. The issue is our tax to GDP is about 16%. And ideally, it should be in the region, if you look at our peers, of around 25% or more. So we need to pay a lot more attention of where the leakages are and why we are not collecting. I mean, currently, if you look at our tax regime, it's operating on a Pareto principle. That means a few of the minority are paying the larger proportion of taxes. And there are many people who are now captured under the tax bracket. So government needs to bring them in. And I suspect that technology will be a key platform to enable that.
The GRA is looking at enforcing the tax stamp implementation by end of June this year. Bismarck Ausa, Joy Business.
Now, South Africa says it is still consulting over whether or not to sign onto the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Discussions are underway as the UN Economic Commission for Africa begins a campaign over the next 6 months to get 22 countries to ratify, including Africa's biggest economies, Nigeria and South Africa. Now, South Africa's High Commissioner to Ghana, Lulu Zingwana, says they would ratify if the relevant stakeholders are convinced it is the right way to go.
Well, as you know, once you sign the agreement, you must take it to your parliament for ratification. So if you just go sign and they don't know about it, you can end up being frustrated. So South Africa is consulting with the relevant stakeholders, with our political parties, various political parties, with our trade unions, with our civil society, community organizations, so that South Africans are taken on board before our president can sign it, and that process is underway.
It's all live on the marketplace. Let's now turn our attention to some developments in the oil and gas sector. And members of the Public Interest Accountability Committee, PIAC, in the Western region to explain to residents and various stakeholders how the oil revenue has been spent over the past year. Joining us on the phone lines now to explain some of the highlights of the oil revenue report is the Vice Chairman of the PIAC. He's in the person of Dr. Thomas Stevens on the line now from Western region. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the marketplace.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, now, Doc, is it exactly what you told us back here in Accra that you are conveying to the people of the Western region? What exactly have you been telling them?
Okay, so we're discussing, it was just a snapshot into our 2017 annual report. So as per 815, which is the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, we are mandated to produce 2 reports each year, a semi-annual report and an annual report as the use of the petroleum revenue in respect of the preceding year. So this was just launching our 2017 annual report. You know, that basically gave a snapshot, an insight into how the oil revenue has been used for the year 2017.
All right, now, there were some issues of non-compliance by the Ministry of Finance, citing some incidents of non-usage of ABFA for capital expenditure. Can you throw more light on this?
Per the calculations that we've done and per the figures that we have, you know, as per the law, the government is mandated to use at least the money that goes into the ABFA, exactly. The budget. That's supposed to use at least 70% for capital expenditure and not recurrent expenditure. Okay. So per the figures that we have, it appears that there has been an infraction of that provision. So it was something that we're discussing with the audience here. You know, so it's in our report as well.
Now, Doc, could you get explanation as to why this has happened?
As to why this infraction has happened?
Exactly.
So basically, what we did at the moment, because we did not have all the information at our disposal, was that we just brought it to the fore that this is the situation that we have. You know, we are conducting further investigations into that, and we've also written to the Ministry of Finance seeking clarification on that as well as other matters. But as and when we get that information, then we'll bring it to the public.
So at this juncture, do you expect that that money that was not used would be carried over to the next ABFA as an add-on?
So in respect of that as well, like I said, you know, we have written to the Ministry of Finance seeking clarification on that, you know, and then we've also written to the Ministry of Finance seeking clarification on monies that was supposed to be used for the Hanswa project. There were certain roads that was supposed to have been constructed in Tichiman, in the Brongahapa region. But when we went for an inspection of those road projects, the projects were not had not been done. You know, but meanwhile, money had been disbursed, allocated for that. It does not necessarily mean that the money has been misappropriated. There are a number of possible reasons why that would have been done. But the fact that we have before us at the moment is that oil revenue has been disbursed for the project. We went to inspect it, and it was not there. So we are writing to the Ministry of Finance seeking clarification, you know, as to first and foremost why the roads have not been constructed, and secondly, where is the money?
All right, now, Doc, you also cited, you know, a situation where, you know, some of the monies in the petroleum holding funds had not been properly distributed. What is this, and how can you explain that to us?
Yes, and I said personally, that is something that I don't want to delve too deeply into, because we've written to the Ministry of Finance seeking further information on that. When we have the complete picture, then it'll be easy to comment on that.
All right.
But comment on that now might be premature.
All right. Now, finally, before you go, do you think that the Finance Ministry should reassess its benchmark price setting for crude oil sales following volatility in the global market of late?
Well, we stated it as a general principle that the government needs to relook, at their policy in terms of the pricing, etc. Because when we have roundtable discussions with the Bank of Ghana, etc., right, it is clear that there needs to be a reevaluation of what we are doing, because in terms of what we are, in terms of the yield, in terms of how much we get in oil revenue, etc. Right, we think that in terms of the pricing, we can do better.
Okay.
Right, and people have been raising the issue of Ghana hedging.
Exactly.
Ghana hedging.
Yeah.
Hedging might not necessarily be the best way to go. There are a number of other options that we are looking at. Some people have suggested that some parts of the oil revenue be hedged and not the whole consignment, etc.
In that regard, can we also vary the benchmark prices for the year? Let's say for the first half of the year, you have a different benchmark pricing, and then you have another one for the second half. Is it possible?
It's an ongoing discussion that we are having. The last one that we had, I think, was at the Oak Plaza Hotel, a couple of weeks back. So it's an ongoing discussion. We are looking at all possible. And remember, PIAC's mandate does not include that, involving ourselves in that aspect of in terms of pricing, etc. But it's a discussion that we have with the stakeholders, because at the end of the day, they're trying to maximize the oil revenue that comes to the country. So we are not intimately involved in those discussions per se, but we drive the discussion in order to more or less get the best possible outcome for the country.
All right. Many thanks for your time, Dr. Thomas Stevens. He is the Vice Chairman of the Public Interest Accountability Committee, PIAC, which is now currently in the Western region, explaining the 2017 annual report to members of the region. Away from that, young entrepreneurs participating in the Cosmos Innovation Center Agrotech Challenge are leaving no stone unturned as they gear up for the second competitive pitching event. 14 teams will be presenting refined business ideas to experts at the end of this month. The challenge is seeking innovative business concepts that can be transformed into an agribusiness startup. Joy News' Adlit Arthur has more in this report.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You made it to the second round. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The 14 groups were selected for their compelling business ideas after the first competitive pitching event in May.
Additionally, we'll also introduce auto credit scoring in order to help suppliers, the smaller suppliers that are in need of our services.
So we're very excited, we're very relieved to get to live yet another day. So what Growth Factor does is that we are helping the SMEs or the suppliers in the Greek sector get paid quicker, especially for those that provide goods or services to large corporations. They're usually paid much later, maybe 30 or even 90 days after they deliver. So we're helping them get paid quicker, and then their buyers can then settle payment with the financier at a later stage.
23 teams had presented their innovative business concept to an ideation team consisting of experts in the agribusiness sector and academia last month.
Okay, congratulations. Okay.
On June 28, the 14 teams that have made it to the second round of the competition will be expected to showcase how viable their business concepts are for a place in the final round. Director of the Cosmos Innovation Center, George Sapon, says the participants are getting ready for the pitching event, which promises to be very competitive.
They are currently in what I call in training mode, and also practicing and doing, completing their research. So right now they are doing practice pitching and readying themselves for the next pitch, which is on the 28th.
The Cosmos Innovation Center Agrotech Challenge aims to unearth innovative business ideas that seek to resolve problems in the agricultural value chain. Some business concepts presented by young entrepreneurs this year include farm management, access to information, transportation and storage, produce quality and standards, as well as soil quality and pest control. These concepts will then be transformed into agribusiness startups with seed funding from Cosmos Innovation Center and its partners.
Agriculture practices in Ghana is still subsistent, and I think we need to infuse in agriculture the best practices and the innovations that have been applied around the world to really move our agricultural level to the next level. So I think the young people have the excitement, they have the capacity, they have the skill set, they like to apply innovation and technology, and that is what is going to move our agriculture to the next level.
Only the promising business teams will proceed to the final stage of the competition. Adelaide Arthur, Joy News, Accra.
Now, exporters may have to consolidate their exports so as to cut down costs and improve efficiency at the port. This is coming from CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority, GSA, Benwanita Bismarck, who says the GSA is currently in talks with the Ghana Export Promotion Authority on new policies to ensure the initiative works. Benwanita Bismarck has also been speaking with Joy Business about special incentives to increase exports in the country at the second edition of the Ghana Shippers Awards. Charles Aiti reports.
The second edition of the Ghana Shippers Awards has seen industry players in the shipping industry commit to more efficient services and compliance with regulations. The award ceremony, which saw about 93 shipping companies receive plaques under various fields of endeavor, has also had players in the sector warned against the demurrage and rent payments, which accounted for $76 million in 2017 alone. Here's Chief Executive Officer of the Shippers Authority, Benwanita Bismarck.
GRA Customs Division and the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders has intensified efforts at educating shippers on how to avoid demurrage in order to further reduce the payment of demurrage this year. Statistics indicate that payments for demurrage at the ports of Tema and Takoradi decreased by 17.5%, from the $100 million to $76 million at the end of 2017. Again, in the first quarter of 2018, the authority recorded a total of about $15.4 million that had been paid as demurrage by shippers. This, however, represents a decline of about 23.5% compared with the total demurrage payment for the same period in 2017. I must hasten to add that it is not in the interest of shipping lines to collect demurrage. Their aim is to turn around their containers so that they can grow their business globally.
Touching on the impacts the paperless port system has had on the ports, Sector Minister for Transport, Kweku Ofori-Esiama, stated that even though efficiency at the ports has improved with the paperless port system, there was still more to be done.
In September 2017, the government rolled out an ambitious port reform program, the paperless port system, aimed at ensuring efficiency in our port operations. The introduction of this system has led to a significant reduction in the time and cost of doing business at our ports. Currently, data available to government through the GCNet system on the success of the paperless port system indicates that about 43% of containers are cleared within 24 hours, and about 70% of them cleared within 72 hours. Data from the Ghana Shippers Authority has also shown a decrease in the payment of demurrage and rent payments at our ports. Ladies and gentlemen, although there have been some drastic transformation in our current processes within the implementation of the paperless port system, as a government, we are very much aware of some inherent challenges that confront the system.
The Ghana Shippers Awards, which continues to recognize achievement in the fields, promotes the interests of the industry, both nationally and internationally, as well as provide an unparalleled opportunity for industry players to network. The awards night was organized by Globe Productions in partnership with Graphic Business and the Ghana Shippers Awards. At the end of the award, the Shipping Company of the Year was adjudged to McDan Shipping Company.
Now, to many young people, the age of retirement is not imminent, but age 60 will definitely catch up in life, everyone, and eventually. In Ghana, the sector is divided into the public and private pension players, with fund managers, custodians, and the regulator overseeing these players. Philip Namfuri brings us an overview of the industry.
The pensions industry in Ghana is regulated by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. It's divided into two main players, in the public space and in the private space. In the public space, we have what we call SNIT. That's the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. And in the private space, we have what we call trustees. There are 27 of them in the industry, licensed by the NPRA. That's the regulator of the industry, National Pensions Regulatory Authority. Now, this is a 3-tier pension scheme, and this was brought in the year 2008. Prior to that, we were using a different type of pension scheme. I'm not going to bore you with that today. Now, in this 3-tier pension scheme, SNIT operates in the Tier 1 space, and the trustees in the Tier 2 space. Now, in the Tier 1 space, we contribute 13.5% of our salaries to SNIT for investments for our future when you become 60 and you can no longer work. And in the trustees, 5% of our salary goes. So in total, we have 18.5% of our salaries going to our pension fund managers. That's SNIT, Social Security and National Insurance Trust, and the trustees. There are 27 of them in the country. What happens after that is that these players pass on our contributions to fund managers who then actually do the real investing. They actually channel these funds to areas of the economy, such as government bonds, government securities, or the stock market. Then we have the custodians who keep these funds. They are typically banks, commercial banks in the country, and they keep these funds or act as a storehouse of these funds for the fund managers, so that when they are called upon, they release the funds to the fund managers, and then they channel these investments to different areas of the economy. There are 66 licensed fund managers in the country, and then there are 16 custodians, all licensed by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. So just to wrap up, 18.5% is what we contribute. This scheme is mandatory. It's in the law. We are supposed to channel funds from our salary into pensions for the age of 60 or come retirement, so that you are not found wanting.
So you can expect some more analysis in other sectors of our economy in our subsequent bulletins. And on that note, to wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace, my name is Emmanuel Apwaji. Have a good afternoon.